Okay, now we're on Chapter 9, Lesson 2, and it's called Ordered Pairs. The directions say, use coordinate grid A to write an ordered pair for the given point. Now, when they're saying coordinate grid A, and you see this label here called coordinate grid A, we're talking about this figure right here. So in order to solve numbers 1 through 6, we're going to be using this figure. Our directions is to write an ordered pair. When we see ordered pair refers to 2. So if you have a pair of socks, you have the left sock and the right sock. Here you're going to have an X and a Y. That will be our pair, X, Y. Ordered means that there's a rhyme and reason for it. Ordered means you have to do one thing and then you do the next. For instance, in all of these ordered pairs, you're going to have a parentheses, X, comma, parentheses, Y. The first number X will always fall on this X-axis. And you could see it labeled here, X-axis, that it goes left and right. So our X number will tell us how far to go, left or right. Our Y falls on the Y-axis, and you can see how it's labeled over here, and it goes up and down. So the Y will tell us how high or low to go. Now, let's really zone in on this. We're looking for point A. You can see here that there are different letters, A, E, C, B, F, and D. They want us to find A, and when we find it, we want to look for the dot associated next to this A. So even though this A is floating in the middle right here of this line, we're concerned with this dot. Now, what an ordered pair does is it tells us how do you get to this dot. We're always going to start at this 0, 0 here. So this is our starting point. This is actually called an origin. And that is our beginning point. So they're asking us, how do we get to point A from here? And remember, there's an order to it. The first thing that we need to do is go on the X-axis and go left to right. So if we're starting at the origin and we want to get to A, the first thing we're going to do is walk on the X-axis. We're going to go left and right only. So if we're starting at 0, how far do we have to go until we're directly underneath A? Just staying on the ground floor here, okay? We're just going left and right. Well, we're definitely not going to go left. Those will be our negative numbers, which you're going to learn later. Here we're going to go right, and we're going to go 1, 2 times. Once we're on the second spot right here, we're directly under A. Remember, the X-axis only tells us to go left and right. And so now we're directly under A, and so our first number is going to be 2. That's our X. From there, in order to get to A, we have to go up. Well, how do we go up? What are we going to follow? We're going to take the elevator, the Y-axis. Okay? So we went 2 to the right, and now we have to go up. To go up, we need to use the Y-axis, which is the second number. How many times do we have to go up from the origin? I mean, not from the origin, but from the base floor. We're going to have to go up 1, 2, 3 times, and then we'll make it. And so that's how they got this 3 right here. The X told us how many times to go left and right. The Y told us how many times to go up and down. Now, without the answer written for us, let's try finding B. First, we look for the letter B, and we realize, oh, there you are. Then we look for the dot associated with that B, and it's right here. Here it is, and these are the ones that we're going to be concerned with. Oops, sorry, that's not very straight. Now, we see that the 7 and the 5 are important, but is it 7, 5, or is it 5, 7? Good question. Let's think about this logically. There's an order to this. We're going to start with a parentheses. Then we're going to go on the X-axis. The X-axis tells us which way again. Let's look at the X-axis. It tells us going left and right. So, we're going to start at the origin, 0, 0, and we're going to go directly underneath the B. We're going to go how many times to the right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times until we're directly underneath the B. So we're going to move 5 times to the right. We're going to go to a positive 5. And so our first number is 5 because we need to move 5 times on the x-axis. We're going to follow this by click comma, x, not comma, parentheses, x, comma, parentheses, 5, x-axis, comma. Now once we go directly underneath the letter that we're trying to find, now we're going to go up. How do we go up? We're going to follow the y-axis. The y-axis tells us how many times to go up. So from the base floor, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. This y told us to go up 7 times. Then we're going to close off with a parentheses. So that's all you're pretty much doing. You're finding the point, you're finding the letter, seeing what associated point it is, and remember, the key part is you have to go right first, go directly underneath it, and then go up and down, okay? If you go the reversed way, you will have the wrong answer, because an ordered pair needs to go x-axis, then y-axis. Right and left, then up and down. Keep in mind that for all of these, we're going to be using positive numbers for now, because we're always going to go right and we're always going to go up. Later on, you're going to see that this can extend more, and you'll see some negative numbers. So instead of it just being 1 quadrant, you're going to actually have 4 quadrants. And that's where it gets a little exciting, and you'll do that in a little bit more advanced math. But for now, I'm going to show you one more thing. A typical mistake I see is when students have to plot and label the points themselves. So identifying, usually students do fairly well, where I see a lot of the mistakes when they have to plot and label it themselves. Now look here, the directions are saying to use coordinate B now, coordinate grid B, and so we're going to be using this one for numbers 7 through 12. The directions are a little different. Instead of identifying it where they'll tell you where the dot is, you need to find where the dot goes. So we're going to put the letter N, the point N, somewhere on this grid, and it has to be at this exact coordinate pair, ordered pair, which is 7, 3. The first number tells us where to go on the x-axis, and it tells us how many times to go left and right. So let's start at the origin, and we're going to go left, we're going to go right 7 times because it's positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So far, I'm right here. Now, that doesn't help me yet because we're not done. That just told us where to go on the x-axis. It tells us how many times to go right. Our second number is our y, and that tells us how many times to go up and down. And so from this 7, we're going to go up 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now, here's the key part. The key part is first, make sure you're going the right way, which is on the x-axis, because it's the x, and you're going right. Then you go up 3 times. The important thing is that you better be on the actual lines. So where these lines intersect, those are where your answer should go. Where this 7 and that 3 intersect, you're not going to be in any of this white space. You're not going to be in between the lines unless there's a half, but I don't see any halves here or any decimals and fractions. So you better make sure, look very closely here. Let me zoom in a little and clear it up. You better not be in these white spaces right here, nor in between lines. So here's one line and here's another line. I don't want you over here in between. You have to be intersecting the two. Now from here, don't forget the most important step, which is label it N. So this is your N. Now you're going to do the same thing for plotting R, O, M, P, Q. So have fun with that and make sure to be careful.